Hey, and welcome to the second installment of Module Two's little mini lecture. Let's talk about today. In this case, I'm going to talk about the assignment you're turning in. Pardon me. Right, we have 2-2 and 2-3 that we're turning in this week, in addition to the quiz. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time just talking about what they're asking, what we're trying to accomplish here. But before I jump into that, I want to spend some time just reviewing brand equity. And I'm going to spend some time reviewing brand equity here because it's critical, one going forward, that you really have a good internalized sense of what it is. And also because you're going to have to understand brand equity in order to do assignment 2-3. So brand equity, right, is simply, it has three legs. You can think of it having a three-legged stool. Right, we got brand awareness, brand loyalty, and brand association. You could do some research and find some researchers that think it's more than three, but you know, this is a good start. This is a good basic start. And we know that, right, you can kind of figure out there's a pecking order to this, right? First you have brand awareness, right? If they're not aware of your brand, then nothing else can follow. Then there's brand association. Once they're aware of your brand, how do they, you know, what do they associate it with? And then hopefully after all that comes brand loyalty, right? And this was really going to feed into, as I said, into 2-3. So before we get into 2-3, let's talk about 2-2. So 2-2 and 2-3 are really different sides of the same coin. We could have put them in the same assignment, but here at SNU, we like to break our assignments up. So you're just taking little bites of the elephant, right? And in this case, we want you to think about, in 2-2, we want you to think about what the various needs are of our stakeholders in this exercise, right? So I'm another monitor here. I'm looking at this communication grid that you'll download and you'll fill out, right? This communication grid is in the learning management system. So you're just going to pick, right? The guidelines is you pick a couple of internal, external stakeholders, and you describe. You know, and you're describing or you're deciding how important the opening of the park is. For example, if you're a lender, we'll just use a lender for example, right? What is the interest in the park reopening? Right, that's one of the grid sections. Another grid section is, you know, how impactful is the reopening of the park? It's just low, high, medium, and then you're just defending your decision. Then there's information and communication needs. Do they need to know everything about the park reopening every minute, every day, once every 2 days, once every day? It's all your choice, right? I don't try to decide if I agree or disagree. And then what's the best way to communicate with those stakeholders, right? This 2-2 is a pretty low bar assignment. You don't have to do any research for it. We're just giving you an opportunity to think about who's involved in the parks reopening, because that is really critical on 2-3. So let's go over here to 2-3. So 2-3 has two pieces to it, right? It's got, as I read the guideline, first is the need for alignment, right? So we want to know, so we're kind of asking, you know, why is it, you know, sales, operations, marketing, why is it they all need to know what the other is doing? You know, why might operations need to know what sales is doing? Maybe operations need to know how many tickets have been sold. Hint, hint, right? Maybe sales needs to know if social media is showing a great deal of excitement about the park reopening, and maybe that informs how many tickets are sold, right? Just think about that. Just right. It's there's no right or wrong answer. We're just asking you to think creatively. Imagine your desk, you know, in a room with someone from sales and operations, and you're all asking, kind of, what can I do for you? What would you need to know? Operations would need to know things from marketing, maybe not, right? That's for you to decide. And that's a pretty easy section. The section that's going to take more work on your part is the second part of it, right? So it's slides 3 through 5, right? And what that is asking, it's asking two questions. And don't forget, you need to answer both. A lot of students forget to answer the second part. So the rubric asks, you know, what role does operations have in reopening the park? Right, what can they do in the reopening of the parks? The sales one is the easiest one. I'll read that here for you. So if the sales department's primary function is to create individual and group sales for the company, what strategy can they undertake to grow sales, considering the current situation? So the current situation, right? The park's been shut down. So what would sales do to overcome any resistance there might be to attending the park, right? Same with, operations has something similar. So does marketing. So you're gonna have to think about, put yourself in two pair of shoes. You put yourself in the sales manager's shoes and say, what am I have to tell that person over there who's heard that there's been an accident at the park and they may not feel very comfortable? And the other shoe, you put your customer hat on and you say, well, what would I need the park to do to convince me to come back? Right, so that's kind of part A. Part B, and the one that most students forget, in part because the guidance document isn't particularly clear, is we want you to tie in whatever sales or marketing is doing, right, to for example, sales, whatever they're doing to entice customers back to the market, to the plant, the park rather. Which of these brand association legs are they impacting? Right? Are they impacting loyalty? Or maybe they're impacting more than one, but you're going to have to pick one and you have to explain how it's impacting it. What is operations? How is operations, right here I call it production, but how is what of these three legs is operations gonna impact? Would it be loyalty? Would it be association? You're just gonna decide, because we want you to think, right? And let's step back a little bit here, right? We want you to think like a CFO and a CMO. So if you're in a meeting with a CMO, right, Chief Marketing Officer, and there's CFOs there as well, and you want to spend some money and you have this idea, the idea can't stand on its own. You have to place it within one of these categories. Otherwise, the CFO is going to wonder, why are we spending the money on that? Right? Maybe it's a great idea, but you'd have to sell it to the CMO, the CFO, within the context of brand equity. So don't forget that second part. That's really, of everything I assess in this assignment, that's the one I really pay attention to, because it shows me whether you understand kind of the basic concept of brand equity or not. Other than that, it's a pretty simple assignment. It's not horribly hard. It's only, how many slides? 5 or 6 slides. Don't forget to do when you're doing, so don't forget when you're tying in, let's say you're tying in sales to brand equity. All right, so we got to tie in for sales and brand equity. Do some research, right? Don't just say, all right, that's one of the key elements in the rubric, is it wants your ideas supported with research. So you just go and do some research, do some keyword searches, sales impact on brand equity, marketing and brand equity, right? You're looking for someone that's talked about how sales can impact brand equity. Other than that, I hope this video was short enough. I've probably gone on long enough. If you have any questions, reach out. Otherwise, I look forward to everyone's submissions. We'll talk to you soon.